Southeast Asian leaders working to build economic ties with their global partners as the region grapples with steep U.S. tariffs. Trade and regional unity taking the spotlight on day 2 of the ASEAN summit in Kuala Lumpur. Members of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP, calling for wider trade efforts and faster additions of new members in its first summit since 2020. The Free Trade Pact currently includes 10 ASEAN nations, along with China, Japan, South Korea, Australia and New Zealand. It covers about 30% of global GDP, making it the world's largest trading bloc. Earlier at a summit with ASEAN members, plus China, Japan and South Korea, Chinese Premier Li Qiang urged all sides to uphold free trade and reject protectionism. Beijing has used that phrase repeatedly to push back against Trump's tariffs. We're now joined by CNA's senior correspondent Melissa Goh, who's been keeping track of all the developments in Kuala Lumpur. A lot taking place today. Mel, give us the highlights of the various summits from the RCEP Free Trade Pact to the East Asia Summit.
You know, unlike day 1 that saw trade deals being signed between US and individual ASEAN countries over the reciprocal tariffs, where things appear transactional despite US President Donald Trump promising or pledging to be 100% behind ASEAN, the Southeast Asian grouping. Now, day 2, a lot of focus on strengthening regional economic and financial cooperation, defending the multilateral trading system between ASEAN and its dialogue partners. Now, Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, as host of ASEAN, chaired the +3 summit with China, Japan and South Korea, and later the wider RCEP summit that represents about a third of world's GDP with Australia and New Zealand, and that he pledges full effective implementation of RCEP to deepen economic integration in the ever-shifting geo-economic environment. Now, he also presided over the East Asian Summit, where he stressed on an open rule-based system. Let's take a listen.
We'll continue to advocate for dialogue over coercion, balance over binaries, cooperation over confrontation. We affirm our stand on global peace and security, for multilateralism and international law.
Faced with possible further tariff threats on other sectors such as the crucial semiconductors and pharmaceuticals, now Malaysia, like many ASEAN countries, are forging greater alliances while expanding intra-ASEAN trade. It remains very low at 24% and exploring new markets, including BRICS. Now, Brazil President Lula da Silva, who was also here attending ASEAN Summit, pledges 100% support for Malaysia to join BRICS and welcome other ASEAN member countries as well. Now, Indonesia is already a member. Now, Korea and India are also talking about upgrading existing free trade agreements with ASEAN, while China will be signing an upgrade of ASEAN-China Free Trade Agreement 3.0 to further enhance trade, enhance digital and green economy. Now, remove barriers and streamline current existing procedures. Now, this as ASEAN speeds up efforts to bolster itself against economic headwinds unleashed by the sweeping US tariffs.
Now, Mel, as you say, it's all about trade, and the summit today was so much all on trade. Tell us about the slew of agreements that have been signed.
Well, for starters, both the European Union Council President Antonio Costa and Canadian Prime Minister, they were all here. They were expressing keen interest to expedite trade deals with ASEAN member countries. Now, EU President Antonio Costa and Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, they told a selected media today that was happening on the trade front. Let's take a listen.
Negotiate 3 important trade agreements with Singapore, with Vietnam, more recently with Indonesia, and we are going very well on the negotiations with Malaysia, with Thailand and with Philippines. It's clear that with trade agreements we have good results. We obtain an increase of trade between 30 and 40%.
Every Canadian is a stakeholder in the fact that we're making progress in ASEAN, that we have the agreement with Indonesia, that we have just decided to accelerate trade talks with the Philippines, with ASEAN as a whole.
Now, the momentum is expected to continue as we speak. Now, this ASEAN summit is the most high profile, saw some 30 attendances of heads of government and heads of states. Now, the presence of President Trump here has also shined a spotlight in ASEAN and raised the profile of the bloc.
Melissa, thanks for that. Melissa reporting live from the ASEAN summit in Kuala Lumpur.